Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Rich Perez welcoming you back into another edition of your weekly rundown. We are live. Shout out to all the people tuning in right now. Of course, joined in as always by my co-host all the way from the U, Kayson Davis. How you doing, Kay?
Good. How are you doing today?
Doing all right, man. I'm excited. Live show, a real live show. I think we got all the technical difficulties out the way. It's going to be a good one. I'm being very objective, even with this jersey on, because football happened and the NFC East, where anything apparently happens, their leader took a loss to the Seattle Seahawks on Sunday. That was the Philadelphia Eagles, which puts the Giants only half a game back of first place. But there's also a three-way tie for second place with the Dallas Cowboys and the Washington football team. So Sunday, what needs to happen is an Eagles loss, a Washington win over Dallas, and a Giants win over a Cincinnati Bengals team that is not that good, and their star rookie quarterback just went down for the year with an ACL injury. So, Kayson, before I give my thoughts, what are you thinking right now as a Giants fan?
Well, with Joe Burrow's going down, I think maybe that gives us a better chance to win the game coming up. I know the Dallas Cowboys won last week, and people were excited about that. But I think we're in a not a great spot. We're in a good spot, definitely to kind of make the playoffs. With Dak Prescott being out for the rest of the year, I think we have the same equal chance that kind of anyone else in the conference has.
I agree with you. I actually think the team that'll be competing with the Giants for the NFC least title will be Dallas Cowboys, just because what the football that they played on Sunday, that's them. You know, even Andy Dalton he's not a franchise guy, but he's a starting caliber quarterback, and he's come back from, you know, his COVID case as well as the injury he was dealing with, and you know he went out there and he played some good football. But I'm kind of, again, being completely objective here, people. I'm kind of on board with, you know, what's going on with the Giants as far as them winning the NFC East title and getting into the playoffs as a sub 500 team, just because there isn't a team in that division that's playing better football right now. We can just go straight to the defense. You can't tell me a defense in that division that you're going to take over the Giants right now. The Giants are playing the best football on that side of the ball of any team, and they just look like they're continuing to get better now. You know, big news came out this past week how they fired their offensive line coach, Mark Colombo, and, you know, brought someone new in there. A bunch of news coming out in regards to why that happened. You know, one thing was that Joe Judge was actually taking his own timeout to coach the offensive line because he didn't like how things were going. There was some words said between the two, and they moved on from Colombo and got someone new in there. And as far as changes go moving forward, there could be another one just not in season right now. So I think it's not going to harm the Giants too much, but I mean, I just like what I see. I like what I see from the skill positions with the Giants. I just talked about their defense. I mean, their secondary, like James Bradbury is gonna make the Pro Bowl this year. That dude has been lights out. And aside from that, we talked about Daniel Jones. I mean, I'm very in the middle on Daniel Jones right now. I don't want to call him a franchise quarterback, but you know, I feel a lot better about him right now than I did a couple of weeks ago. It's 2 games in a row, no turnovers, which you like, especially when that's been him lately. And, you know, you just want to see him do the things going forward that he's done to make us kind of say, wow, you know, the amazing passes and you know, the RPO runs and things like that. So they're playing the best football, and I think they're the team to beat moving forward.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think that they're playing the best football now, which is kind of funny because earlier in the year they kind of was playing maybe the worst football. So, like I said, kind of last week, it's all about playing the best at the right time. So, I think just Dallas still has a shot. So I wouldn't kind of take them out the case yet. But if I had to go just right now, like you said, just like from what I've seen from the Giants over the last couple of weeks, if they can keep it up, I think they definitely have the best shot to make it.
Yeah, I know I seem very biased right now between the Phil Simms jersey and then this stuff behind me, but I promise y'all I'm being very objective with this. But moving forward, I did mention the Cincinnati Bengals and how their rookie quarterback just got hurt, Joe Burrow. Wish him a speedy recovery with the torn ACL. I think he tore his MCL as well. It's going to be a tough road for him to come back. But with the way things are working in 2020, as far as, modern medicine and things like that, I think he's going to come back more, just as good as he was before the injury. Not only that, man, but the Cincinnati Bengals, they got something there. I think he was well deserving of the first pick, and he had an awesome rookie year. I just can't wait to see what's in store for that dude moving forward.
Yeah, same. It's kind of unfortunate what happened to him, especially tearing his ACL and MCL. It's like something you never want to see. So you definitely wish him a speedy recovery. And he was having a great rookie year. So the future's only bright for him with the way medicine's been going lately. Tearing your ACL is not as bad as it was maybe like 10 years ago or so. So that's a good thing. He'll probably miss 12 months or something like that. But I think he'll be able to recover fine and get back to playing the great football that he was playing before he got hurt.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I want to get to Monday night's game, last night's game, because me and Kayson, we kind of been going back and forth with this specific team. So the Tampa Bay Buccaneers lose a close one to the Los Angeles Rams. I want to give major props to the quarterback over there that a lot of people have been coming on very hard since that Super Bowl loss. Jared Goff, shout out to that man. That man put that team on his back when they needed him to, made the plays when they needed him to, and they won that game because Jared Goff stepped up when they needed to. Now, on the other side, how I've been saying, Tom Brady is 43 years old and Father Time is undefeated. There's a reason why that man has all these amazing skill positions around him. They need him to look as good as possible. Now, some things that I noticed: 2 forward passes, no penalties, and first of all, he should know that at this stage in the game that's not what you do. 6-time Super Bowl champ. Come on, that's again, we're talking about being in your old age. That's number one. But I don't know if you watched. He fumbled the ball near the end zone, and they didn't call it. So apparently, Tom Brady still gets special treatment, going back to the tuck rule and things like that. But aside from that, the poor sportsmanship, man. Does he not know who Jared Goff is? Why didn't he shake that man's hand?
Well, sometimes after a loss, it's like, you know how people act sometimes after a loss. You can't knock him too much. I don't know. I don't think there's anything there, but he didn't play well, so maybe he was just frustrated. He kind of wasn't thinking about shaking anybody's hands. I think he hasn't really played well in like primetime games so far that I've seen like on TV and things like that. So it's still, I hate to say it's still like a learning curve, but like I think by the time the playoffs come, I think we'll see him play better. So, throughout the regular seasons, there's ups, there's downs. Like you said, he's in his 40s. He's an older player. I think when you're that old, you're kind of going to have some good games. You're going to have some bad games. That's just how it's kind of going to go. You just hope that he plays his best when it's the right time, when it's playoff times and things like that. So you never know. I think maybe he was just a little frustrated from not playing as well that game. So I would give him 1 pass just now, but if he does it again, then there might be something there.
Yeah, well, I mentioned how we were kind of going back and forth on this one. The Patriots, man, they're starting to get back to what we saw early in the season. So let's go back to what I had originally said. I said, but well before the season started, the New England Patriots will look better with Cam Newton than they did with Tom Brady a year ago. Now, outside of his first 2 games back from COVID, what have you seen from with the last games played as well as early in the season? How do you feel about the Patriots going forward as they try and get back in this division? Miami was looking like they were going to get in the driver's seat there. They took a big loss on Sunday. So with the Patriots looking like they're getting back pulling, and the way Cam looks like he's starting to come back to the quarterback that he was early in the season, what are your thoughts on him? Expect moving forward?
I expect them to get it together. I expect them to probably most likely get in. The Dolphins didn't have that great of a game this past weekend, and they have a rookie quarterback out there. So I think you talked about it on here a lot, just about how we don't really know when people first come back from COVID, how their body's going to react. And the history has shown so far in the short time that most people come back kind of not themselves. So with Cam now having a couple of weeks on his belt after coming back from COVID and things like that, I expect them only to get better and for them to kind of play better and get back to how they were earlier in the year. So I think they have a great chance to make the playoffs. I think the Dolphins, they're in the way right now, but I expect them maybe to fade a little bit as maybe Tua comes down to earth maybe a little more. So I think they have a great chance. I think just as long as Suns Cam starts getting back to be 100% himself, I think they'll probably be the team to get in.
Yeah, and I mean, you got Buffalo in the driver's seat right now, but they took a loss themselves. They're kind of looking back on the earth themselves as well from early on in the season, where a lot of people thought they were just going to run away with it. And we're talking about Josh Allen being in the MVP conversation, but no more. Patrick Mahomes should be taking that one home. But aside from that, I think at the end of this, that'll probably be a 3-team race, running down the stretch if things continue to go as they're going. I want to go back to the NFC South. We talked about Tampa and their playoff hopes and everything. Doesn't look like they're going to win the division. I didn't expect them to win the division. After that loss, they're now 2 games back and have 2 losses to the New Orleans Saints. So that tiebreaker is all New Orleans. But, what we didn't talk about was Drew Brees goes down with apparent rib injuries. He's going to be sidelined for a bit. Jameis Winston comes in the game, and he does enough for them to win the game. It was late fourth quarter, I believe, and he did what he had to do for the Saints to hold on to their lead and win the game. Now, after that game, we're like, it's just like last year when they threw Teddy Bridgewater out there. Jameis is going to go out there and be the starter. No, Taysom Hill, the gadget player that they've been using as a running back, a tight end, a part-time quarterback, who they paid handsomely, by the way. He gets the start. And, I was going crazy. Like, I can't believe this right now. This is a little crazy. I did not expect this at all, especially he's 30 years old, been in the league for some time, and for his career has passed at the time for 255 yards. But I mean, he went out there, he passed for about 233 yards, no passing touchdowns, but he did run in for 2 touchdowns. And, I'm not going to sit here and say they won the game because of him, because their defense really went out there and they did their thing. But I was a little impressed, I'm not going to lie. So after watching that game, what are you thinking?
Kind of same as you. I was maybe more impressed than what I thought they was able to come out with the win and stuff. But I think for Taysom Hill, they sold us on that he's their next quarterback after kind of Drew Brees leaves. So I think they have to kind of put him out there and obviously see what he can do for them. Or maybe he's shown something in practice that had them so confident in him before. So I think this is, I don't know if he'll be able to keep it up type of thing, but it's a good showing for his first game out there, especially when a lot of us maybe not expected to go as well as it did. So I think it's one game, so it's like you don't want to get too crazy over one game, but this may be what they had in mind when they said that he's kind of their future going on from here. So I think we'll have to wait a couple more games, but for the first game, it was like you said, kind of just a little more surprising than kind of we thought. But this, like I said, this could be what they seen in practice to let us know. This could just be like, hey, we told you guys he's our next quarterback and things like that. So a little surprised, but I'm gonna have to wait and see a little more consistency before I be like too surprised. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, as far as he goes, I after that performance, I definitely want to see more of him moving forward. To kind of really gauge exactly what he is. I mean, Sean Payton's been out here for 2 years now, comparing him to Steve Young. Right. And I mean, if you go back to those 49ers teams back when Joe Montana was the starter, Steve Young came in already playing pro football in another league before he got into the NFL. And I mean, they were using Steve Young any way they could before Joe Montana got hurt, and they threw Steve Young into the game as a quarterback, and eventually he would go on to take over as the quarterback for that team and win a couple more Super Bowls for them. It's Steve Young has had a Hall of Fame career, multiple time Super Bowl champ, so that's a high bar to set. Right. So, I mean, it's time to get the ball rolling and seeing is this your guy moving forward? Because we said last year we thought they should have moved on from Drew Brees, get ahead of the curve and go with Teddy. They didn't do that. They let Teddy walk in free agency to Carolina and, brought Drew Brees back for another year. He's dealing with some injuries now, starting to look a little his age as well. So they also paid Taysom Hill handsomely. So it's time to see what they got.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, they've been selling us on him being their next quarterback. So we know Drew Brees only probably has a couple years left. Maybe this is his last year. So it is time to see what he got. And like you said, they've been giving him high praise and things like that. Like we've seen him play so many different positions. It's kind of like we don't know, but they're gonna have to keep selling us on it, and he's gonna have to keep showing us that he is what I guess they've been seeing from him in practice and things like that. So, like I said, it's just gonna be a wait and see thing with him and kind of the Saints where they go from here. But I think they brought in Jameis Winston for a reason. So, I guess it's like double insurance just in case. So, I think Winston is definitely gonna be out there soon, maybe.
But that brings me back to my next point before we move on from this. What you were expecting Jameis Winston to be QB1 with Breeze out, and he wasn't. So was it just like them? They've hyped up Taysom Hill so much and got to justify paying him what they paid him. Was that the reason that they threw him out, or was Jameis just not showing them enough during the week where they're just like, look, we believe in Taysom and we're going to throw him out over Jameis?
Yeah,
because that says a lot. Taysom Hill has not been a starting quarterback in this league. Jameis Winston has years in this league as a starting quarterback.
Yeah, it has to be one or the other. I guess we'll never know. It's kind of something they'll only know. We don't know if Winston hasn't kind of been showing up in practice and things like that, or did they feel like they had to sell us on Taysom Hill? I think it might be more of a Taysom Hill type of thing right now, but we're not sure because you said that Winston has time as a starter and playing in the quarterback in this league, but from what we've seen from him, like we said, he's like the greatest, baddest quarterback, greatest, worst quarterback that we've seen. So it's like, which one are they getting in practice? So it's kind of like we don't know. So it's a thing that's, I guess, really only they'll know for now. But if I had to guess, I think it might just be a Taysom Hill thing. He was there longer. He's been there longer. He knows the system and things like that. So I think they think he's the next big thing for them. So I think it might just be a Taysom Hill thing.
Yeah, and we will see moving forward with them. And maybe he's going to prove a lot of us wrong and show that he's the real deal. And Sean Payton wasn't bluffing when he compared him to Steve Young.
Yeah, well, we hope so. I wish the best for him and them going forward. So it's gonna be a wait and see thing. They started off great, so that's good. So hopefully, they can keep it up, and maybe he can keep them rolling while Drew Brees is out right now.
Yeah, well, we have a Thursday night football game coming up here in a couple of days. It'll be a divisional game as well, as the undefeated Pittsburgh Steelers take on the Baltimore Ravens, who are right behind them in second place. But we are also dealing with a global crisis with COVID-19, and it has affected the Baltimore Ravens as their two running backs, rookie J.K. Dobbins as well as Mark Ingram, both have contracted the virus. Obviously, this is not ideal for them, just days before their game, a divisional game, when they're trying to win against the Pittsburgh Steelers, who look on fire right now. And the Baltimore Ravens, they're not bad, but they don't look as good as they did last year. They still have the number one rushing attack in the league, but we've heard Lamar kind of come out and say that their plays have been a little predictable. Guys already calling them out before they get the ball snapped, and we want to see more from Lamar. Like I personally, I love Lamar Jackson. I'm a huge fan of his. I'm glad he went out there and showed people he's a quarterback. He went out there and won the MVP. Love what he's doing. But there's something there when we talk about his throwing ability. It's not like he's buns or anything like that either, but like we got to see him throw the football more and do it effectively, right? And when they're running with, like, they just lost to the Tennessee Titans. They were actually up in that game, but because of his lack of throwing, ended up blowing the lead and losing. Also, when they're down big in games, you need him to step up for throwing the ball, and he just hasn't been able to do that for them every time they needed him to. And some people talk about them not having the best skill positions. Their skill positions aren't garbage either. So this Thursday night with his two running backs out, Lamar Jackson needs to step up.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I would say the same. Last year, not that the offense kind of caught people by surprise, but it was like maybe caught a couple people by surprise. You think now that people have a little time to game plan for him and things like that, you kind of have to switch things up a little bit. A lot of us know that he hasn't been like the greatest passer or one of the best passing quarterbacks. He's known a lot for his rushing and doing things like that. So I think teams are just caught on to their offense and how things are going. They need to maybe switch it up a little bit. When teams have more, they have a year worth of footage that they know about you to be able to study you guys and things like that. So they kind of force him to throw the ball a little more, something he's not as comfortable with doing. So I think as time goes on, they just have to maybe adjust their offense a little bit. And hello, Christine. Welcome to the show.
How you doing, Christine? Well, I guess that's a good time more than ever to get into basketball. We kind of touched on it a little bit on Saturday, but here it is. The 2020 NBA draft did take place. The draft picks came in, and we got our thoughts. So it was we talked a lot about it. Who was going to go number one? Was it Anthony Edwards or was it LaMelo Ball? It ended up being Anthony Edwards. I personally thought they should have went with LaMelo Ball, not because I think Anthony Edwards is a phenomenal basketball player, but there's been some character issues reported about Anthony Edwards, and he was kind of just throwing or not throwing, but kind of letting it be known, like, hey, what people are saying about me might be true. Like, we've seen some videos saying he wants to rap, and then put a statement out saying if he could get drafted in the NFL, he would give up basketball in a heartbeat. I mean, yeah, I'm going to say it because I know you're a fan of this dude. You're on the train. It reminds me of Andrew Wiggins. I think Andrew Wiggins is extremely talented, but I question Andrew Wiggins' love for the game. And because of that, he has not lived up to the potential that was set for him as a number one pick in the draft. So for the Minnesota Timberwolves, who already had Andrew Wiggins on their team, that scares me a little bit when you're trying to make a playoff push. You traded for D'Angelo Russell, and you want to keep Karl Anthony Towns.
Yeah, that comparison's funny to me. But Wiggins has never came out and said anything crazy like that. I know a lot of people question his motor and things like that. But I think Anthony Edwards, that's interesting that he came out and said it. I mean, I guess sometimes you want to credit people for being honest. But I think the timing was maybe a little bad, right before the draft and maybe him being the number one pick. But I don't know. He's shown and he's kind of proven that he could be the number one pick. So I guess rapping aside and loving football more aside, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people in the league who love football more. Allen Iverson said that football is his favorite thing to do. But we never questioned him. I guess he never came out and said, like, I'd rather play football and things like that. But he definitely said, like, if he didn't end up in that situation he ended up in, he might have went and played football. So, a lot of people love football first. So I'm not going to knock him for that. And I guess Dame has showed us that you can rap and play basketball if you really wanted to. So I guess it's not too bad. I think the timing of it was a little bad. I think maybe he should have just waited until maybe after he was drafted or something like that. But I'm not going to knock him. I mean, he's shown that he can be, as long as he plays the way that he played in college in the league, and he's going to be that number one pick that we think he could be. Everything else aside kind of doesn't matter, maybe.
I hear you. Well, let's get to the basketball side of it then. This is a guy that you drafted as that missing piece to take you over the hump. And as I mentioned, this kid can play ball. He's phenomenal. So pairing him up, he is a true shooting guard. We had the debate as far as taking LaMelo went, who plays point, who plays the two. He's your two guard. So now him, D'Angelo Russell, Karl Anthony Towns, and you got Ryan Saunders as the head coach. You know, the son of the late great Flip Saunders. What's the expectations here? It's going to be a race just to get into the West.
Uh, I don't know. The West kind of got tougher with Chris Paul going to the Suns. I think they have a shot to get in, but I don't. If I had to pick, I don't think they'll probably get in. There's been a lot of talk about Karl Anthony Towns and can he really lead a team to the playoffs and things like that. I know D'Angelo Russell was able to do it with the Nets. I think them picking Anthony Edwards shows that they want to keep Russell at the one, which is we talked about on here. It depends on what they wanted to do with that. I think they'll have a shot. They'll make it close. But actually, with the new rules that they're putting in this play-in tournament, they'll get in the play-in tournament. I don't know who they'll play and where they end up winning, where they get into the real playoffs. But I think they're good enough to get into the play-in tournament. Yeah, I'll give them that.
I can definitely agree with that moving forward. You know, it's going to be tough out in the West with all the moves that have been made. You got right now. I think the definites, Lakers, the Clippers. I'm trying to think of like definites there. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, the Nuggets are definitely. I'm not calling the Blazers definite.
I think the
I am not calling the Blazers.
I think I'm calling the
Blazers just got in last year. They
had a lot of injuries last year.
Yeah, I understand that. But moving forward, because we talked about that too, moving forward, the Blazers are just another team. And don't act like you didn't agree when we talked about that either. Like, they're just another team to me.
They get Nurk back. They now got Robert Covington over there. They got Melo back.
They got Canner back too.
They got Canner. Get too much. They got Canner back though. They also got what's their power forward who got injured during the bubble? The young boy
Ryan.
No, is it Zach Collins or something like
Yeah,
that?
Collins.
Collins is back now too. Well, I don't think he'll be back to start the season, but he'll be there eventually. I think they're starting. If you think about their starting lineup, they got Dame, they got CJ, they got Melo.
I love Dame and I love CJ.
They got Melo, they got Covington. I like Covington over there for them playing the four. And then they got Nurk back. I think that's good enough to get in. I think they're locked to get in.
They're a lock. Where do you see them? Where do you see them slotting in though? Like, are they middle of the pack? Are they just getting in at the lower seed again? Like, what are we talking about here? Like, I think they're just another team to me. Like, I can see them I'm not saying they won't get in, but they'll probably get knocked out first round, maybe second.
Yeah, but that's kind of what we expect from the Blazers. But I think they're a lock to kind of get in. I think probably middle of the pack, probably somewhere around. You figure the Nuggets, Clippers, Lakers. And then after that, it maybe be a toss up. So you figure the Jazz, the Blazers. I would throw the Suns in there now.
Jazz will get in. Jazz will get in.
Yeah, so I figure they're around there, maybe 4 and under, 5 and under.
All right, because I mean we don't know what's going on in Houston. They did just sign DeMarcus Cousins, by the way.
We don't know. I don't know what's going on in Houston at all. The fact that both of their stars axed out before free agency, it's hard for them to get anyone to go over there. So it's surprising that DeMarcus Cousins even decided to go over there. But I think it's like, how do they improve the team when half of the people think that their 2 stars are out the door? So no one wants to go over there and play with them if both of those guys are not going to be there. So I think they need to just blow it up. I think it's over there, to be honest.
I think depending on how the season goes, because they really did kind of shoot the organization in the foot with both of them asking out, definitely hurt guys coming over there to be a part of a contending team anyway, because you didn't know what was going on with your 2 stars. Depending on how things go over there, I could see them blowing it up in the middle of the season. But, you know, I mean, we talked about DeMarcus Cousins possibly going to Houston already. I like it for those 2 guys, if they can find a way to, you know, get some success going there. I mean, Houston, between free agency and the draft, with those 2 guys already asking out, it did the best they could. Like, I can't really complain about the moves that they made.
Or the lack there. I mean, they signed Christian Wood and they got DeMarcus Cousins. Like you said, we talked about it. I think DeMarcus Cousins would have been good. Well, obviously he has to be healthy first, but I think he's a good pickup for them if those guys are there and they want to be there. But they signed him to a non-guaranteed deal, so I think if they end up trading those 2, they'll just waive him too. So that's good for both of them. I think I feel like the way everyone else in the East, the Western Conference, kind of improved, they kind of didn't improve that much. So they're kind of like, it's like, and it's hard for them to improve when both of those guys went out. So I think it's maybe just time to blow it up and let it go.
Yeah, no, I'm not opposed to that at all. We'll see how things go with them. I think for both of them, especially Russ, the best thing for them would be to keep that together. But at this point, it's hard. It's hard to see that happening moving forward. Want to get back to the draft though. So in the draft, we talked about the number one pick being Anthony Edwards. Worst kept secret in the world, the Warriors wanted James Wiseman. They took James Wiseman. I like it for the Warriors because this is like the first real scoring threat they've had at center. But unfortunately for the Warriors, Klay Thompson tore his Achilles.
Yeah, that's actually very, very unfortunate for them. Wiseman was a good pick. I think that's what they needed. I think, well, I actually said right before the draft with the way what just happened to Clay, it might have been not too bad for them to go after a guard. You think you fit LaMelo Ball in there next to the Curry? That wouldn't have been too bad. But I think they had their mindset on Wiseman already, and the Clay thing happened like the day before the draft, so it's kind of like a quick turnaround and decision. But yeah, like you said, he gives them something that they haven't had yet, a big man who can score. He's going to give them the same thing kind of Bogut gave him before, so they can set the pick and roll, run the pick and roll, spread the floor a little bit, and things like that. So I think he's still a solid pick for them. He's going to take some time to maybe come along, but I think once he gets it down pack, and when they get Clay back, like I said, that starting five is one of the best starting fives in the league, with my guy Wiggins 2020. So they'll be back in there competing for a championship pretty soon. But I think for now they might have to maybe look for some trade options to get another two guard in there.
I mean, they made some moves. They brought in Kelly Oubre Jr., things like that. Obviously, you still got Andrew Wiggins. They're going to try to compete for they still have Draymond Green. They're going to try to compete for a playoff spot. I'm about to say something a little controversial, though, but I think if you're a real hoops head who understands basketball and have watched the Warriors, you wouldn't think this is controversial. They could be a lottery team again because you're going to ask Steph Curry, Steph Curry is arguably the greatest shooter of all time, right? This is the great, him and Clay, greatest shooting backcourt ever, right? Change the game of basketball. I agree with all of that. You're going to ask Steph Curry to do what Chris Paul has done, what Russell Westbrook has done, and what James Harden has done, which is carry a team. We asked him to do that a year ago, and his body couldn't hold up. Now we're going to ask him to do that again. I can't see that working out well for them based on history.
I see your point, but I think with Curry, Draymond, you add Wiggins in there now. You add Wiseman in there now. I think
a lot of this last year.
I think you got to think, but with the play-in tournament, I think they'll be somewhere around there. I think they'll get in play-in tournament wise, as long as everyone stays healthy and things like that. But I think I can see what you're saying, but I think they'll Curry's gonna show us that he can lead the whole team by himself, maybe like those other guys did, but
he's a great leader. I'm just like, can he carry them? I can't. From evidence so far has not shown me he can do that.
Yeah, but that's the kind of what I meant to say. But I think with Draymond and the extra help that he'll get, I think they might make a couple trades too. I heard that they were looking to try to maybe trade for JJ Redick. So I think they're going to try to get another two guard in there so where he doesn't have to carry the load as much. If they can do that, then I think they'll be great. But I still think they'll be around that little play-in area. So I think they'll get in play-in wise. Because it's the top 10 seeds basically get in. There's only 15 teams. There's only 15 teams there, so I think they fall in that 10.
Okay, I hear you. We'll see what happens. So the Hornets, we mentioned on Saturday, they took LaMelo Ball with the third pick. I like it. This is fun. Michael Jordan, when it comes to Michael Jordan, is the greatest basketball player of all time. He's one of the worst president of basketball operations and team owners out there. I think there's only one team owner who really kind of in the NBA who's worse than him, and I'm not even going to go there. But I mean, he's been pretty bad. They've made the playoffs, I believe, once or twice under his tenure. And when it comes to drafting, I'm not going to say who he drafted. I'll just say who he had the opportunity to draft: Donovan Mitchell, Devin Booker. List goes on, man. So he's got the third overall pick, and he took LaMelo Ball like we mentioned, and I like it for LaMelo Ball. He gets to come in there, lead the team. They made the moves to bring in Gordon Hayward, and you still got Patrick Graham over there as well, who put on a show for them last year. I think that'll probably be your starting backcourt. I don't know what they're going to do with Terry Rozier, as we mentioned, but I like the Hornets moving forward, and I actually think they could push for a playoff appearance. Push for a playoff. Get in. Push for a playoff appearance.
I think they can push for 1-2 with the Eastern Conference over there. You never know; anyone can have a
Yeah,
good
better.
a good run over there. Their bottom seeds are definitely always up for grabs. So I think like we talked about the Gordon Hayward thing on here before. Just they have to kind of maybe overpay to get some players. So with Gordon Hayward, Lamelo Ball, we don't know what's going to happen with Terry Rozier. If they end up keeping him, then that's good. If not, you kind of trade him for some extra pieces and things like that. So I think they have a shot to get in, but I think everyone in the Eastern Conference has a shot to get in. So it's the Eastern Conference.
Feel you. I feel you. Before we go on with the draft, we do have two questions. My guy Antoine Brooks, how do you think COVID will affect postseason training, scouting, and the upcoming season play schedule and precautions? I think they're doing the best that they can do with what they're working with. And the NBA, when we're just talking specifically the NBA, they're untouchable. Like we saw with their bubble plan and everything about after 2 weeks of them playing in the bubble, you never heard about a positive case again. And with the NFL and the MLB, that hasn't been the case at all. I mean, the MLB crowned a champion, and during the championship game, somebody tested positive for COVID-19. So that's the NBA side. In the NFL, they've got that contingency plan. Okay, I don't know if you saw that, with 16 teams will make the playoffs in an emergency situation because of COVID. So it'll be tough. I mean, we just talked about how it affected the Baltimore Ravens, the Giants on their bye. They got lucky it was their bye week, but their kicker, who they just signed to a 2-year deal, Graham Gano, contracted it. Will Hernandez contracted it about 2 weeks ago. So it's going to be tough. I mean, Kay, what's your stance on it?
I think we kind of got to the point where everyone is just trying to deal with it and hope maybe no one gets cases and kind of work around it, like we've seen in the NFL and MLB. Just if we're at the point where things have to go on. That's kind of the point people got to. So it's we hope that nobody gets it, and someone does get it, we're just going to place them on the injury or COVID list and things like that. And then when they're able to come back, they can come back, and we'll continue. We hope that it doesn't spread as much, but we kind of got to the point where it's you just kind of have to work around it type of thing. We're going to see with the NBA when they come back now, they're going to be back in their arenas too. It's going to be no more bubble situation. They're kind of going to be hoping for the same thing where they're going to have to travel to these different cities. Everyone's going to have to wear their mask, be safe, and do everything. And then if you end up contracting the virus, then you're just going to have to sit down for a couple games, and when you're ready to go back, we're going to throw you back out there. So it's one of those things where it's kind of they got to the point where it's there's nothing we can do about it. Life kind of has to go on. So that's just kind of what it's going to be from here on out.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the scouting goes, they've taken the necessary precautions as far as that. Like we saw with the NBA draft, they had the virtual thing going on where they had the draftees put into a bubble type station, and then the scouts were kind of watching them through video and whatnot, and then they were going through virtual interviews and everything like that. So I think as far as the other leagues like the NFL and the MLB go, it'll probably be the same thing. And I mean, postseason training probably will be the same as it is now. I think the NFL is going to try once they get to their postseason, because you have a 53-man roster, so you can't really do a bubble situation in a regular season with all these teams. But in a postseason situation, I think they're going to try to put these guys in a bubble. And I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's where it's going to get interesting. It's when postseason comes and a star player or a very important player catches the virus. It's people are going to, that excuse is going to start to come up. Oh, if this person didn't catch the virus, then maybe we would have won. So I think right now, as the season's going on, they're going to try to do their best to kind of work around it. But I think when the postseason comes and playoff comes, that's where things are going to get interesting. And it's going to get really interesting if a big star catches it in the middle of a big series or right before a big game. So we're going to have to see how. We don't know how that's going to work yet, but we're gonna have to wait and see. I think that's what we should be waiting to see.
Yeah, and I mean the biggest thing like going into the season, we're gonna start hearing like quarterbacks get it, and like backup quarterbacks are gonna come in. We've heard quarterbacks have been in like the high risk category, or like they might have come in contact, so they put them on the list. Or like they thought Matt Stafford caught it, and it turned out to be a false positive. So like we've heard that, but like these guys end up playing the games anyway. So that's actually been surprising to me. When I get to Elias Thomas, what do you guys think about John Wall wanting out of Washington? Last we heard, those reports weren't actually completely true. They're planning on moving forward with John Wall and Bradley Beal. This is according to their GM. Said they're on board and they want to see what these two guys look like together after pretty much 2 years of it being the Bradley Beal show.
Did you see John Wall's comments today, though? Well, I guess his no comment today.
I didn't. He said no comment.
Yeah, they asked him about if he requested a trade. He said no comment.
And it kind of goes to what you were talking about, though. I think he's just mad his name was even brought up in trade talks.
Yeah, probably.
I don't think if that happens, we probably never even hear this.
Yeah, definitely. And I think they're kind of just trying to fix their relationship now after kind of the rumors is out there. So they're probably trying to save face. Everyone like, no, we wasn't trying to trade him, make right with John Wall because it doesn't look like the Westbrook trade is going to happen. So now they gotta make their star happy again, because not that they're stuck with him, but they're gonna be keeping him moving forward. So John Wall may still feel the way he feels, but I think they're trying to mend their relationship. So he's just gonna leave it at that.
Yeah. So I want you guys can keep asking away. We'll definitely get to your questions throughout the show. I want to get over to the 4th overall pick. And the Bulls took Patrick Williams. Patrick Williams was coming off the bench in college?
Yes.
All right, you got to talk to me about this. For coming off the bench to be in the 4th overall pick in the draft.
Yeah, actually, I think I seen him play when they came down here, if I'm not mistaken. But it's if you watch his highlights, he looked like he could be like a top pick, because it's crazy. I was sitting in here watching ESPN and I seen it. They had him listed as like the number 8 best prospect, but I'm looking at his highlights and I'm like, he could be like a top pick. I guess 8 is like a top pick too, but I'm thinking like, oh, his highlights look really good. So it may be something they seen from him, maybe in the workouts. He is like 6'8", so that's good. So he's a little lanky and things like that. But I think if you look at his highlights and you kind of maybe they seen him work out and things like that, he looks like he could be worth a top pick. He wasn't projected to go that high, but in this draft, it's like we were arguing who the number 1 pick was going to be. So this draft, people think it's one of the weakest drafts. So anyone kind of could have went anywhere.
Yeah, I think when I was looking at this draft, and we kind of talked about that too, that we felt like there was a lot of value on kind of like on the backside of this draft. So I think that was like interesting. That was pretty interesting to see him go there. But I know like a lot of people saying he was able to kind of showcase what he can do, and that was making him go up a lot of people's draft boards. So I'm gonna go out of order a little bit here.
To say one more thing about him too, you got to remember that Florida State team was kind of deep too. That was I think they were aiming for one of the top seeds in the tournament. So Florida State they've been good for a couple of years too. So him coming off the bench, I wouldn't look too much into it. But how deep Florida State is, they had a couple other later draft picks too. So Florida State has a lot of veterans too. So I wouldn't look too much into him not starting.
Yeah. For sure. I guess I'll go to well. I said I was going to go out of order. I'll stay in order for the 5th pick. The Cavs take Isaac Okoro. He's another guy people talked about a lot. I mean, just typical Cavs fashion. I thought maybe they'll take a guard for the 3rd or 4th year in a row, but they don't. They go to forward, and Okoro's Auburn, and the potential that they've talked about with him has been tremendous. So I mean, the Cavs. They were nothing before LeBron. They've been nothing after LeBron. Just a consistent lottery team. Like, what are we seeing there?
Well, first things first, like you said, we're happy that they didn't take another guard. I mean, they have Kevin Love right now at the forward spot, but you don't figure he'll be there for too much longer. He's a veteran, so on. He said he doesn't mind staying there, but I'm pretty sure a lot of people will be asking for his services soon. So you get another forward in there, someone who can kind of maybe take Kevin Love's spot. They just lost Tristan Thompson, so you get another forward to fill that spot out. They just got Andre Drummond, so we don't know how long he's going to stay there either. But I think this is just a safety card because they don't expect Kevin Love to be there too much longer.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So let's get to the home team with the 8th overall pick. The New York Knicks selected Obi Toppin, forward out of Dayton. Man. So the Knicks actually wanted to trade up to the 5th pick with Cleveland. They had the assets to get done. This is the guy they wanted to trade up for. They ended up having to give anything up to get him. He fell to them. I don't dislike the pick. I know some people were talking about they need a point guard. Tyrese Halliburton was there. They should have took him. He's the kid is box office. You know, he puts on a show every time he gets on there. He's got skills as well. You know, you look at him being a tandem with RJ Barrett, who you took last year as another plus. His draft comparison was actually to Amari Stoudemire. My dad was talking to me today. He was talking about him being a little similar to Scottie Pippen, which is pretty high regards there. Well, I know you made that face. We'll chat with him later, but I mean, you know, I like the pick. You know what made me like the pick even more is he's a New Yorker. He understands, you know, the landscape of things, which Knicks fans always talk about that they want, you know, when it comes to between their coaches and the guys that they bring in, they want a New York guy. So you get that in him. And just the way he talked about, you know, the position that he's put in is coming back to his hometown, growing up a Knicks fan and things like that and being in his position. You like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I think the Stoudemire comparison is more like him. When you look at his highlights, he definitely looks like he can be a Stoudemire type. I think if the Scottie Pippen thing, I don't think he has like the ball handling abilities and maybe the passing abilities to be Scottie Pippen. But I like Stoudemire for him. So I think that's great. And yeah, we talked about this on here before. You want to get someone who knows kind of, yeah, I guess he doesn't know the New York media and things like that, but someone who's from New York, someone that's going to embrace the city, someone that the people can kind of get behind. You said they needed a point guard. I think later on in the draft, they ended up taking I forgot the point guard's name, but the point guard from Kentucky.
Quickly.
Yeah, so that was a good pick. They was able to still get a point guard later on in the draft. So I like it. Like I said, I said on here before, he was the most NBA ready player I thought out of anybody. So they get a nice NBA ready player, someone that's going to come in and be able to make an impact right away, something that, you know, New York starves for. They don't like to wait too much. So they get someone that can come in, make an impact kind of right away, and maybe change things around for them.
Yeah, I know we got some Knicks fans in here too, so you know y'all can go ahead and drop your opinions on the young bull as well. But he's gonna hit the ground running. You know, usually you get drafted over the summer, you play your summer league, then you know get some time off, go right into training camp. This kid is going right in the training camp from the draft, so we're gonna see how he looks in Tom Thibodeau's system.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's unfortunate that fans can't be at the game this year because he definitely would have had, you know how crazy the Garden gets. One of his highlight dunks definitely would have had the Garden going crazy. So it's unfortunate.
Yeah, I like the young core that they're putting together there. I think a lot of people weren't happy with RJ Barrett. RJ Barrett did not have a terrible rookie year. You know what I mean? It wasn't like he was in the rookie of the year conversations, but he had a good rookie year. You know, so you want to see him build on that. He's got a coach that hopefully can help him grow as a player. And I mean, he's got some nice young pieces around him to grow with. We just mentioned how they drafted Obi Toppin. They got Mitchell Robinson there still. We'll see what happens with the other guys there. I mean, they made some signings at least. You know, Austin Rivers is there on a 3-year deal. I'm surprised he signed a multi-year deal. And you know, there's some other guys in there as well. So we'll see what happens. We always got time to talk about the New York Knicks.
Yeah, I think for RJ though, he had to play maybe out of position a little bit. He's not really a point guard. He's more of like a scoring two guard. So I think with them signing point guards and then drafting that point guard I was just talking about, I think that helps him a lot to get away from trying to be that ball handler, that passer, that person that's going to run the offense too. He can move back to the two and just be that scorer that we know him to be for years. So I think that'll help him too moving forward. So it's good for them to get some point guards in there.
Frank Ntilikina, starting point guard for the New
Jesus
York
Christ.
Knicks. Anyway, I want to get to the Sacramento Kings, because we mentioned this young man earlier. Tyrese Halliburton actually went to them at 12. A lot of people, myself included, view this as a steal for the Kings, but you just gave your point guard De'Aaron Fox a max extension, and you draft Tyrese Halliburton, who is a point guard. Now, I know their relationship with Buddy Hield is not good right now, so the first thing I'm thinking is when they draft Halliburton is Buddy Hield will probably be out of there pretty soon. Bogdanovich is a restricted free agent. It doesn't look like they're going to bring him back. They have a little bit of time tonight to match the offer sheet he got from Atlanta, but I don't expect them to do that. So I don't know, man. I mean, I like it. I like it. I think, again, steal of the draft for me, especially to get him there at 12. But I wonder how that lineup looks. If you keep Hield, does he come off the bench, or what are we doing there?
I think it's kind of like what you said. I think Bogdanovich is kind of out of there. I don't think they plan on bringing him back. And it's interesting for Buddy Hield. They haven't had the best relationship with him, so I think this kind of may be the writing on the wall for him too. Whether they keep him for another year and then kind of let the rookie learn for another year or so before they end up putting those two, him and De'Aaron Fox, in the backcourt. But I think that just shows that they're kind of moving in a different direction and letting Bogdanovich and Buddy Hield go.
But I mean, who plays the one for them going forward? That's what's confusing about to me. Like, De'Aaron Fox really established himself as your guy there, and it's not like Halliburton is a guy you can kind of view as a combo guard. Like, he really kind of plays like a point guard. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting part, I guess. They might just look at it as a combo guard. Maybe they'll take turns, but someone's going to have to be able to get out there and space the floor. I think I don't know. We're gonna have to see what the Kings are thinking. The Kings have made other interesting decisions in the past, so we don't know what the Kings are exactly doing. But I think it would have been better to keep Buddy Hield and Bogdanovich, because those guys are shooters who can play next to De'Aaron Fox. But I think you figure nowadays it's a lot of positionless basketball, so you put those two guys out there together and just hope they can create and maybe I don't know, space the floor for each other when needed.
Yeah. So the Miami Heat at 20 take Precious Achiuwa. We talked about that a little bit with Derrick Jones moving away. If you guys follow me on Twitter, that was one of the first things I was talking about once they made the draft pick. It's definitely looking like the writing was on the wall for Derrick Jones Jr. on a team that looked like they wanted to run it back. The only two guys that they didn't bring back were Derrick Jones Jr. and Jay Crowder. But Precious Achiuwa, he's another guy like that can be the steal of the draft. I mean, every Miami draft pick the last couple years has been something for them. They took Justice Winslow 13th or 12th, I think. While he was in Miami, he showed, especially once they really put the ball in his hands, he started to show them something. They draft Bam Adebayo very late in the lottery. He just got a max extension. We'll talk about that as well. And, he makes his first All-Star team. He's in the conversation for most improved player. Tyler Hero. They take Tyler Hero 13th, right? And Tyler Hero's been, amazing for them, especially in the playoffs. Dude's a rookie hitting shots like he's a seasoned vet. You know what I mean? So, number one, it's a great position for Precious to be in. But, I think he's going to fit into what they want to do right away as well.
Yeah, I agree with everything. I think you talk about steals of the draft. I think this is my steal of the draft right here. You said him falling to the perfect spot for him. You see what they've been able to do with some of their other younger players and how they've been able to develop them. I think Precious was the only player in college this year to average double-double. I think also he was the only player to win I think Player of the Year and like Freshman of the Year in his conference. So I think it's definitely a steal for him. He can play. He's like 6'9". He can play anything from like the 3 to like the 5. He kind of has like an NBA body already. So I think Precious be able to come in and maybe be able to make a instant impact. I think I seen D Wade on there talking about how he's someone that can maybe come in and help Bam get off the boards a little bit and give him a little extra rest. So I think they'll be able. He's gonna be so versatile, especially if he's gonna be able to hit a shot. I think he's gonna be able to play anywhere from the 3 to the 5, and I think just him going to Miami in the perfect spot to help him develop his game and things like that. I just think he'll end up being the steal of the draft.
Yeah, well, let's stick to Miami. As we mentioned, Bam Adebayo did sign a contract extension with the Miami Heat, $163 million. The rookie max extension you can get with a trigger. It's 163 mil with a trigger for 195.6 million, according to Shams Charania of The Athletic. And I think the other thing mentioned here, because I was very surprised that they did this, only because we all know that they want to go after Giannis Antetokounmpo next free agency, and that was why what we were hearing was they were going to wait to pay Bam Adebayo and really see what they could get, what they could get, or could they get Giannis in? And what's being said was Adebayo's deals for the full 5 years, no player option in year 5. Once the Heat committed to the maximum salary to him, Adebayo was ready to commit full 5 years to them. Makes sense, obviously. But, Bobby Marks at ESPN did say, do not get caught up with Miami losing $13 million in cap space for the 21-22 season. The front office in Miami is the gold standard of creating room or using other resources, and he used Jimmy Butler as the example, which means true. They had zero cap space when they got Jimmy Butler in there, but they found a way to make it work. So no extension would have been presented in an uncomfortable position for everyone involved. So, it sounds like Miami's still in. They'll find a way to get Giannis in there if he really wants to come to South Beach.
Yeah, I think I seen something or someone said that they might have to trade like their whole roster though to kind of make up. But it's only 13 million. I think, like you said, it'd have been an uncomfortable situation if they didn't get it done. So I think getting it done was kind of the right thing to do. And at the end of the day, they could maybe end up trading Bam to bring in Giannis. You think maybe those guys can play together, but you may think if we got Giannis, we may not need Bam as much. So maybe that's one thing they are thinking. You make them happy now, and then maybe later on use them in the sign and trade to get Giannis. So you never know. So yeah, I think, like you said, the door's still open for them, but a lot of people wasn't expecting this, so it's just a little shocking.
Yeah, I would say, straightforward. They want those guys playing together, but definitely don't write it off either. You got to find a way to make the contracts match and things like that. But we got a long way to go. A lot of people have said the moves that the Bucks made, while they were good, still did not solidify their chances in keeping Giannis to stay there. And Miami's the king of big game hunting. You know what I mean? When they trade, before they made the trade to bring in Shaq, Glenn Rice was their guy. They made the trade to bring in Alonzo Mourning over from Charlotte, as well as Tim Hardaway Jr., and that catapulted them to a contender in the Eastern Conference for a bunch of years. Then, when they draft Dwayne Wade, they want to go after a championship. They make the trade to bring Shaquille O'Neal in, and then later on, they blow up their whole roster so they could sign the big three. So that's an organization that's always going to be big game hunting, and you can't ever count them out of anything.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, they could make it happen. Like I said, they could end up trading Bam, even though they may not want to trade him, but they'll end up making it work, like you said. But it's interesting because if you think about it, they do want Bam and Giannis to play together, but would that kind of be the best situation? You think you play them at the 3, you play them at the 4 and the 5, you kind of shrink the floor a little bit, and we've seen what kind of happens with Giannis. He kind of needs a whole bunch of shooters around him. Even though Bam can hit that little free throw line jump shot, I think that maybe shrinks the court a little bit. So I think they might not be too upset if they have to maybe get rid of Bam if they get Giannis.
Yeah, they're playing chess over there. They ain't playing checkers. So, if you're a Heat fan, just roll with it, because it always seems to work out for them in the end. So I don't really got too much else on the draft there. I don't know if you wanted to add anything else before we move on.
Nah, I think that's it. Jalen McDaniels, who got drafted by the T Wolves, I think he's a nice young piece, so watch out for that.
Most def. So now a fourth player from the 2016 NBA draft class has signed his max extension. Brandon Ingram, I mean, well deserved. He went out there and balled this year. One most improved player. You guys know I thought I thought it should have went to Bam, but you can't really be mad with the season that Brandon Ingram had. And New Orleans offered him an extension last year, not as lucrative as what he got, and he bet on himself and turned it down, and it ended up working out for him. So he gets the 5-year max extension over there, and that's for $158 million, and you got your duo moving forward between him and Zion Williamson. So I like what New Orleans is doing.
Yeah, they definitely brought him in to keep him. Like you said, it was smart for him to kind of maybe turn down that extension before and then play as great as he did this year and was able to get the full max. So yeah, this is a no brainer to me. It wasn't too much of a surprise. I guess it was more just a when it was going to happen, especially after the year he just had. And with the trade, he was the main piece in the AD trade, so you're not gonna just let him walk for nothing. So yeah, I think like I said, it was a no brainer.
For sure, man. Actually, we got breaking news right now. I finally get to say that, and people get to see it when it happens. That feels so good. The Kings are not going to match the offer sheet on the Atlanta Hawks for Bogdan Bogdanovic. They're moving on from Bogdan Bogdanovic. The Kings get a guy who's a nice scorer in this league as well as a reliable shooter for them. I'm interested to see if they want to throw him at the 3 or if they want to throw him at the 2, because he's got the size where he can play at the 3, but he was starting at the 2 at one point for the Sacramento Kings. They also, here's something we got to talk about, because we all thought if Rajon Rondo, we knew Rajon Rondo was leaving. That's what we talked about last Saturday. But with them signing Rajon Rondo, how's that going to work? Is Rondo just going to come off the bench like he was with the Lakers? Are you going to, kind of work something out with him and Trey in the backcourt, kind of like what they were doing in New Orleans with him and Drew?
I think Bogdanovich gets the start. I think Rondo comes off the bench, definitely. I don't think they kind of brought Rondo in there to start him. I think he's more coming in to come off the bench and kind of be that veteran point guard to kind of help the younger guys. So I think Bogdanovich gets the start. I don't know if they'll start him at the 2 or the 3. It depends on what they want to do with Gallinari. I think, but if you think about it, you think Trey, Bogdanovich, Gallinari, and you got a solid 1, 2, 3 right there. I think Collins is probably start at the 4. So they got a nice start, solid starting 5, and that could definitely space the floor. So I would go Bogdanovich, and I think Rondo's just coming off the bench to be that veteran.
Yeah, the Atlanta Hawks suddenly look like a team that's going to push for a playoff spot in the Eastern Conference. Not just push for a playoff spot, but probably be somewhere between, I want to say, like 6 to 8, man. So that would definitely watch out for them moving forward. They got a nice front office. It looks like they've got their coach in place, and they've got some nice key young players in there as well.
Yeah, in the Eastern Conference, I think they'll definitely get in. I think they're kind of close to a lock. As long as everything gels together in the Eastern Conference, they're what is there? Toronto kind of just got a little worse too. So I don't think they're better than Toronto, but they're gonna get in definitely. I think.
Well, I mean, Toronto did bring back Fred VanVleet. We talked about that one. So yeah, but they did lose Serge. They did lose Gasol.
Yeah, I think those are two big losses for them. But like I said, they got a little worse. I don't think the Hawks would be better than them, but I think the Hawks would probably definitely get in the Eastern Conference. Who got in? The Magic got in last year, right? Who was the 8th seed in the East last year?
The Magic.
Oh, see, look, who's the 7th seed?
The 7th seed was who did Toronto?
The injured Nets.
Yeah, it was the Nets. And
I got the Hawks getting in the Eastern Conference.
All right. We'll see. I think it'll be a fight. I think it's gonna be a fight in the bottom there to see who gets in. You know what?
You
Knicks fans, I think you're gonna fight for a playoff spot. I said it.
You said Knicks?
Yes.
Let's be realistic. But remember, you gotta remember 10 people get in now. So it's like the top 10 seeds. So the Hawks would
And
probably definitely get in.
they were just sitting outside last year.
Who, the Knicks?
Yeah.
Oh,
The bubble scenario, like when they're like, all right, if you're within here, then you can come. Like the Wizards got in and they were like 4 back. But the Knicks, they weren't that far behind. Like that was something people were arguing. Like, should they even be allowed to get in with how bad they are? But I mean, hey, maybe you got Tibbs now. Maybe you can improve. Like,
it's crazy. In the Eastern Conference, it's gonna be the same argument again. It's gonna be like, should the 10th seed be able to get in with how bad that they are? The 10th seed would probably be like 8, 9 games behind the freaking 8th seed. It doesn't even make sense. But they have fun over there in that Eastern Conference.
anyway. So we mentioned Serge Ibaka and Marc Gasol. Marc Gasol is signing with the Los Angeles Lakers, the team that drafted him. He will finally get to play for them. He's not the Marc Gasol of old, but he still is a key contributor for teams. I like that moving forward for the Lakers. They're the prohibitive favorites with everything that they've done so far, from trades to signing. They brought in Montrezl Harrell. We talked about that one. And then the Clippers, who lost Montrezl Harrell in free agency, and based on what Montrezl Harrell was saying, they didn't want him back. They bring in Serge Ibaka. So on one end, well, I like what they both done, but I think that for the Clippers, they've got some more moves they need to make if they want to get somewhere. Like we all know they need a point guard. They still haven't really addressed that yet. And then for the Lakers, they're pretty much set to try and repeat as champions.
Yeah, I think the Lakers kind of got way better than what they were before. I think the Clippers, they may have got maybe just a little worse, but you don't know. I think the Lakers are winning the offseason right now, which is crazy to say after they just won the championship. So I think the Lakers are kind of maybe head and shoulders above everybody right now. The Clippers do need to get another point guard in there. I don't know who was kind of left on the market for him. We all thought Rondo was going to go there. He ends up going to the Hawks. So I don't know.
I think they should trade for Derrick Rose.
That's a solid trade. I would be on board with that. I think that's something they can do. That's something they can get for cheap too. So yeah, so there's a couple people out there maybe, but they lost the sweepstakes to try to get Chris Paul, Drew Holiday, some of the bigger name point guards out there that they could have used. So I think the Clippers, they definitely need to make a couple more moves, but I think the Lakers are just maybe too far ahead of everybody right now.
Yeah, no, man, I definitely agree. As I'm still looking through some other big free agency moves.
What's the last team that won the championship and then like just blew up their whole roster and got better? Because I know the Mavs won the championship in 2011. They blew up their whole roster, but they got worse.
I was gonna say the Warriors, but they didn't win a championship.
They didn't win it that year.
So
What was the last time a team blew up their whole roster and got better? It doesn't make any sense.
I can't really think of one, man. That's a very good question.
The Lakers, right as the way things sit right now,
Roster. No, I can't think of one. I know some championship teams that'll let some guys go, but like did what the Lakers just did? No.
like it's crazy. I think right now they're like the 100% favorite. I think the maybe the Nets, but I don't think the Nets are deep enough to kind of hang with them right now, especially coming off winning a championship. So the Lakers, they're my early favorites to win it right now.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that one, man. They're looking tough, and yeah, they're definitely my favorites to repeat as well. I guess before we get out of here's an interesting one for you guys. You guys remember Isaiah Thomas, not the original Isaiah Thomas, little Isaiah Thomas, the dude that was low key in the MVP conversation while he was in Boston before dealing with that serious hip injury. He's never been the same since. He's a free agent right now. He's coming out and he's saying this is the best he's ever felt. You remember how good he looked when he was in Boston. So if you're taking him for his word, what's the best situation for him going forward?
Like team wise, like what would be?
Yeah.
All right, you gotta put me on the spot there. I was off the top of my head, I was gonna say we just talked about the Clippers needing a point guard, but they have Lou Will coming off the bench, so
I don't like that. I don't think he's the guy they need to bring in either.
Yeah. I'm trying to think who kind of needs like a scorer because I don't think he'll be a starter anywhere he goes. So I'm thinking he has to be a six man most likely, someone that's gonna come off the bench and score. So what team can use someone to come off the bench and score? I don't think the Lakers kind of need that. I don't think the Clippers need that. I don't. I think the Nets would be good off that too. Uh,
The Nets are definitely good at guard right now.
you know what? Boston. Why don't he go back to Boston? I think Boston can use some scorer coming off the bench. They just lost Gordon Hayward, who's one of their scorers. He's like we just talked about how good he was in Boston. He'll be back in the same comfort level and things that he was before when he was in the MVP conversation. So with the loss of Gordon Hayward, I think Boston would be a great spot for him to kind of return to and maybe get back to his old self.
Yeah, you know what? Now, like thinking about it, like I'd probably go with them too. I think like he's always been good he was the last pick in his draft, but he's always been kind of good like everywhere he's been. Like he was a good player in Phoenix. He was a good player in Sacramento. But in Boston, maybe he's a system guy. You know what I mean? Like under what Brad Stevens runs over there. That's the best he's been. And maybe obviously the injury is a factor, but maybe a part of him having a lack of success in these other places was, the fit. Like maybe he just plays well under what Brad Stevens is running. Hey, I like it.
Yeah, well, after the hip injury, it's always hard to come back from a hip injury. So I'm not gonna knock him too much after the hip injury. But yeah, he had some places before that maybe things ain't fit. But you bring up Phoenix, I think Phoenix may be another nice spot for him. He can come off the bench there and kind of maybe be that scorer off the bench.
They did. They just brought back Sarge though.
Yeah, but I figure Sarge is starting. He's kind of like a stretch four. I think they can use a scoring like a scoring guard coming off the bench a little bit, maybe. Phoenix would be all right, but I think Boston would be the solid number one spot right now. Or send him to the Knicks. He's feeling good. You know what? You know what the Knicks do for people.
I don't do this. Y'all understand? It's him. He's the one that's doing this, not me. I am done taking shots at the Knicks. It's this guy right here.
You know what the Knicks like to get older players when they're coming off injuries and things. He could go resurrect his career with the New York Knicks.
I'm giving them props, man, especially after what Detroit did last week. Like I am not here to kill the Knicks right now, which is crazy because I'm kind of known for that.
Yeah, well, they cleared $40 million in cap space, so you can't knock them for that. And then they got better. So yeah, but I just had to take a friendly shot at the Knicks.
Yeah, they're going after Giannis, so we'll see how that goes.
Right.
Anyway, man. You guys got anything else for us before we get out of here? We're in the live chat still. If you guys got anything, going once, going twice.
Well, shout out to everyone that stayed in here. We was in the range from like 7 to 11 people. So yeah, shout out to everyone that came in. Shout out to everyone that left. Shout out to everybody that's still here.
Yeah, man, we want to thank you guys for tuning in, showing support. We're really building something out here. First, really official live show. And we tried out today, but this was definitely fun. We're gonna have more coming for you guys, more interviews. Like I said, if you haven't checked out Kayson's piece on the Miami Heat, go check that out. We got a Houston Rockets piece coming out pretty soon. But yeah, man, that was your weekly rundown. We'll see you guys next time. We out.